It's hard to believe, but yes, Joe Biden is still the President of the United States. You would be forgiven for thinking he already handed over the reins to his Vice President Kamala Harris due to his seemingly endless vacations and rare public appearances. But concerningly, he is still Commander-in-Chief. Sky News All Stars Rita Panahi, Kristin, Tate and Gabriella take a look at Joe Biden's latest antics and ask, who is running the country? Joe Biden has emerged from yet another vacation, hopping back onto the campaign trail to help his Vice President Kamala Harris secure victory against Donald Trump. But instead of being rejuvenated from his time at the beach, Joe Biden appears worse than ever, confirming the very obvious fact that Joe Biden is in no position to be running the country, says Sky News All-Star Kristin Tate.
Now, as I mentioned at the top of the program, President Joe Biden has washed off the sunscreen, wrapping up his 2-week beach holiday to return to work at the White House. And soon after that, he headed off to share a campaign stage with Kamala Harris in the crucial state of Pennsylvania.
The first decision I made, the nominee in 2020, was selecting her as my vice president. And by the way, it was the single best decision I made as President of the United States of America.
That's his same old line about Kamala Harris. Now, as I suggested to Kristin Tate, even though there's plenty of serious issues around, it looks like the president's main job now is to spruik for his vice president.
Yes, the country's certainly dealing with serious issues, but the most serious issue Joe Biden is dealing with is what time he'll go to bed this evening. I mean, he is completely checked out. The media is ignoring him, basically, and it's clear that Joe Biden is not running the country. I know we've talked about that many times on this show, but I think for the first time, Chris, people who aren't into politics, just everyday Americans, realize that. And what's the most terrifying to me is that there's just sort of an apathy around that idea. It seems like many American voters just kind of don't care that we don't really have anyone at the helm right now. But yeah, the press is just completely focused on Kamala and building her up and reintroducing her to voters as this exciting new figure. And unfortunately, many voters, moderate ones and those who tend to skew to the left, are really eating it up.
Sky News All-Star Gabriella agreed, slamming the president for his endless vacations and also blasting Democrat voters for turning a blind eye to his incompetence.
But first, can we take a moment to take a look at what the president is up to? Joe Biden only has a couple of months left of running the most powerful country in the world. And while America is facing a cost of living crisis, housing and immigration crisis, and there are multiple wars raging on in the world, how is the Commander-in-Chief choosing to spend his precious time? Well, in true Joe Biden style, he's at the beach in Delaware. There he is, chilling out on a beach chair under an umbrella, almost like he doesn't have a care in the world. This was the 81-year-old pictured on Wednesday, and according to reports by the New York Post, he spent 2 hours there with Jill Biden and her sisters. Now, seeing as he needs to go to bed at 8 o'clock every night, it's a fair bit of time to be spent staring at the ocean. But hey, most Democratic supporters would rather ignore this and instead share TikToks of Kamala Harris pretending that the current vice president will change America. Now, onto one of the biggest stories of the year, one that Democrats and the left-wing media would like you to forget, that Donald Trump was shot and nearly killed 6 weeks ago.
And Sky News All-Star Douglas Murray took it a step further, blasting the president for ignoring the death of an American citizen in Israel by Hamas whilst vacationing at the beach.
Now to Israel, where there are tens of thousands protesting, demanding a Gaza ceasefire and the release of the remaining hostages after 6 were executed by Hamas. And the pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu is intensifying further, Douglas, with President Joe Biden saying the Israeli Prime Minister is not doing enough to secure a hostage deal and ceasefire with Hamas. There's Israel's most important ally wavering in their support at this most crucial time?
Well, you know, Joe Biden has spent recent weeks on the beach, literally on the beach, away on the beach with Dr. Jill. And so when he says that Prime Minister Netanyahu isn't doing enough, I'd love to know exactly what Joe Biden thinks his own work performance schedule has been like of late. And it isn't a theoretical question, that. One of the 6 hostages murdered by Hamas in the last week was an American citizen. And there used to be a time, Rita, and you and I remember it, when an American citizen being killed in cold blood by a terrorist group got the attention of the president and indeed perhaps even the vice president. But the president is on the beach, the vice president is on the campaign trail, studiously avoiding having to answer any questions from the media or indeed say anything of any substance. And this, I think, is a little glimpse into what happens in the world when America is absent. And I think it's shameful. Shameful. American politicians should have ignored the American hostages for such a long time, played political football with the Israeli hostages, and now pretend that the Israeli government...
Despite being very well rested, Joe Biden is still displaying concerning signs of mental decline, reveals Sky News All-Star Alex Stein.
I agree with George Clooney. He is selfless. He doesn't even know who he is anymore. He has no idea. Joe Biden's on the beach in Delaware, just sitting there. Who am I? Where am I supposed to go? What day of the week is it? Am I still in the election? So, I mean, in a way, he is right. He's not even a human being anymore. He's not autonomous. He's being controlled by people like a puppet right now. And you know what? I feel bad, not for George Clooney. I mean, he's got a very good life, but I feel bad for Joe Biden just being puppeted and paraded around. The guy needs to retire, and he needs to just, go relax. Because like George Clooney said, he's selfless, but it wasn't his choice. He doesn't even get to choose to stay in the race. So he has no control over the decisions that he gets to make or that the country gets to make.
Alex Stein then went on to add, Joe Biden's cognition is so dire that the Democrats will be forced to replace him with Kamala Harris before the election.
Well, Joe Biden is back from the beach and he's back pretending that he's running the country. Here he is.
Folks, we made a lot of progress, and Kamala and I are going to build on that progress, and she's going to build on it. I'll be on the sidelines, but I'll do everything I can to help.
Looks like he forgot that he is no longer running for president. Should he go back to Delaware?
He does need to go back to Delaware, and mark my words, Joe Biden has no idea who Tim Walz is. He has no idea who's running with Kamala. He has no idea what's going on. He has no idea that World War III is going to happen. I mean, let's just be real. He's in a serious mental decline, because I know people his age that are still very spry and very sharp. And there was a time when, believe it or not, Joe Biden was a sharp politician.
Yeah.
But those days are long gone. He needs to retire, and I think they're going to get rid of him so they can put Kamala as president before the election. So this should scare all of us that she's going to be able to kind of get in through the back door and potentially stay the president if she wins this election.
Joe Biden has been trying to help Kamala Harris on the campaign trail, but it seems every time he is wheeled out, he makes another gaffe that hurts the Democrats, like this concerning slurring in his recent speech.
We got one more job to do together. Let me ask you, are you ready to fight? Yeah! Are you ready to win? Yeah! Are you ready to elect Kamala Harris our next president of the United States of America? And in the process, are you ready to make Donald Trump a loser again?
Joe Biden has always struggled in front of the press, but his recent mental decline is making him barely coherent, reveals Sky News All-Star Rita Panahi.
Now, President Joe Biden managed to tear himself away from the beach for a few hours, and he was asked about the media-created scandal about Donald Trump posing for photos and filming with Gold Star families at Arlington National Cemetery. This was his barely coherent response.
What do you think of President Trump's behavior at Arlington Cemetery with the visit to the fallen soldiers?
I don't want to answer things. I may tell you what I think.
Did you watch your Vice President's interview on CNN?
He said, I don't want to answer because I might tell you what I think. That's what he said. The nerve of this man. This is the puppet president who has abandoned these Gold Star families who lost their loved ones in his botched withdrawal of Afghanistan.
And with less pressure to perform in front of cameras, Joe Biden is now simply ignoring the press, says Gabriella Power.
Look, Joe Biden is back after his 18-day vacation, and after stuffing up while speaking to reporters, he's back to just staring blankly at journalists.
May God protect our troops.
President Biden. President Biden.
Somehow he's still the president of the United States.
This is crazy. We don't see him. We don't hear from him. I mean, this is literally just straight up elder abuse at this point. This is so sad. I mean, he must be propped up on so many medications. But then again, he probably thinks that she's the president now because he doesn't know where he is. Let's keep in mind, he's been on vacation like at least 60% of the time he's been president. Trump got shot and hasn't stopped one day.
And in another concerning turn, the president now needs even more assistance from the Secret Service to carry out daily activities, reveals Rita Panahi.
And we better check in with the leader of the free world, who apparently is not allowed in crowds anymore because it's dangerous. Watch this remarkable exchange.
I'm not able to go out to crowds anymore. The Secret Service doesn't let me.
No, why not?
Well, because it says too dangerous. No one gets to go out. Remember not?
No one gets to go out. It's too dangerous. Are they terrified that he'll, I don't know, encounter some stairs?
And sure enough, we saw this in his most recent speech, where his handlers were forced to intervene after questions from the media pack became too overwhelming.
We're coming this way. We're coming this way. Start moving this way, guys. We gotta go out. We gotta get out of here. Emily, we're moving that way. We gotta go. We gotta start moving. Thank you so much.
President Biden, do you support free IVF for parents?
This way, guys. Thank you so much. We gotta go. Thank you.
Free IVF for parents, do you support that proposal, President Biden?
Thank you.
Thank you, President.